Hello, it's Diane again, and this is the second book that I will be listing in my shop this evening. This is made from a vintage book called Wings in the Meadow. Excuse me. It was about butterflies, and I used Victorian bird and butterfly images in this book. I like I think it looks like Queen Anne's lace here, but maybe not. Maybe it's yarrow or something like that. But anyway, it's a nice silhouette. And I used a bit of this pretty lace here and a piece of a vintage linen piece that I had gotten at the antique store. And I thought that made a nice decoration on the cover. The corners did not need the metal corners because they weren't in bad shape at all, but I thought it needed a little bit more decoration on the front. So I added those corners, a bit of trim down the side, and the spine is covered with the canvas type of fabric that's got a damask pattern on it. And then along the spine I glued this sheer ruched ribbon, pleated ribbon I guess, and another piece of that trim. Has 3 signatures. It's quite large. It measures 6 by just over 9 inches. So this is a nice big one, and the spine is 2 inches. I did not put, excuse me, I just came in from shoveling. Okay, sorry. I didn't put any pockets on the front or back covers because there are lots and lots of pockets throughout the book. And I love this paper that I covered it with. It had this butterfly printed on it, and it's got ledger papers, and I just thought it was really pretty. Okay, so the first signature has this handkerchief stitched on it as a pocket, and it wraps around to the other side, so you'll see that on the back of the signature. There's an inventory tag and this image that I got from the internet. And there's a bird stamp here and here. There's a crochet trim stitched on there, and this one has a dragonfly dangle on it. This is an image I found when I searched Pinterest for Victorian bird printables. So I fussy cut it out, and then in the middle here I glued a piece of dotted vellum to give it some stability, and then I just put these little skinny tags in there. This is copy dyed tracing paper. This is a printable. My goodness, I still can't remember. In between the other video I made with this paper and this video, I knew what the paper was, and now that I'm filming, I don't know again. I mean, the Etsy seller who makes it, I can't remember. I'll put it in the description below. There's a copy dyed index card with a little bird stamped on it. And there's another image from that Victorian advertisement kit. I love this little collage. It's just got a bit of kind of a mossy green, or dusty green, I guess, lace, and a gathered patterned trim here, and a little bird, one of the Tim Holtz ephemera pieces, and I just think that looks cute. Here's a flip up for journaling, and a couple of tags inside. Each of the tags is stitched to copy dyed paper, and this one is stitched to actually a scrapbook paper that has ledger lines on it. Most of them are stitched to copy dyed paper. Here's another piece of lace and a little piece of green lace, some vintage ledger here, and a page of a bird book. This is an illustration from the book, and I covered up the writing with these 2 pink pieces for journaling. This is Ephemera's Garden here, one of her kits. I think it might be Whimsy and Botany ephemera add-on. And this is one of the Tim Holtz butterflies. There's some hearts on the strings in the middle. There's some vintage graph paper and a printable. Guest check there. This is copy dyed lace and a little piece of mint green lace. There's another collage with a bit of a vintage handkerchief and some laces. I love combining patterns. So there are 3 different patterns here. This is a very subtle pattern, green on green there. And then plus the image. And I just think they look so beautiful together. I used to love to do that with fabrics too when I made patchwork tote bags and pillows and things. This is, if you saw the video that showed the vintage lady with the little bits of calendar, and I said that there were some bird panels on the sides, this is one of those bird panels. I stitched it on as a pocket, and there's an adorable little bird printable. I'm going to put the links to the printables below. And this is one of Ephemera's Garden printables. It's a little book page, and I don't remember if I reduced the size on it or if this is the size of the book, but I folded it together and glued it, and it's printed on one side and journal lines on the back. There's some eyelet trim stitched to that side, a vintage envelope, and an index card tucked inside, and a doily and a banner and eyelash trim. And this is another Ephemera's Garden printable. Here's the other side of that handkerchief. This is a part of the page from the vintage advertising kit, and this is Tsunami Rose. The second signature starts with a pink handkerchief. It's a vintage one. It did not have any lace or anything on it, so I added this lace to it. And there's an alterations tag tucked in the pocket. And there's a Tim Holtz ephemera bird glued on. And this has a little black bead dangle. This is an adorable image here. And there's an envelope here with nothing inside it. You can add something. This is coffee dyed tissue paper. There's this nice Victorian bird image, and it's stitched to some patterned paper. And then this is a coffee dyed index card tucked inside. Here is the merchandise bag from Denise's shop, A Tattered Dream. And I coffee dyed the bag, cut a slit up here so it has a index card with a decoupage napkin on it. And to decorate the bag, I took a piece of this handkerchief with this gorgeous pinkish colored trim, and I stitched this pink lace and some cheesecloth and a little bit of sheer fabric, and then this image. Stitched it all together and then glued it to the bag. And then this is a Cavallini sticker here. I actually fussy cut those birds out. And this is from the vintage advertising kit. Here's a piece of vintage handkerchief. It's the same one that I used here. I just had a piece left over and I stitched it on here with a little piece of the pink handkerchief and some green lace. This is a flip up so you can journal, and it has a butterfly punched out of vintage wallpaper. Isn't that cute? The birds that have ledger behind them, that is Christie Art Designs, all of those. This is vintage ledger paper. This is from a children's nature book, and it's got butterflies on it. There's a journaling spot there. A little tiny envelope here. And there's 2 little tags stuck in behind it, and then this printable from Ephemera's Garden tucked inside the envelope. And this is a Cavallini sticker. There's another paper doily with a butterfly punched out of vintage wallpaper. And this is vintage wrapping paper. I punched that out with a 2-inch punch, circle punch, and then there's some embroidery and a piece of a vintage handkerchief. Here's the other side of the merchandise bag. And inside are a couple of journaling tags. And I mentioned in one of the other videos that I did these silver paper clips that I just got at Walmart. I colored them with alcohol inks. So they look mottled. They're not a solid color, but I like that. I think it makes it look vintage. On the back of the bag is some blue lace with some pink polka dot fabric and another one of those bird panels. This opens up for a nice journaling spot. I love that bird image there. Another vintage envelope and a tag tucked in there, coffee dyed tag. The other piece of the pink handkerchief with a piece of that vintage linen, and then there's a tag inside. And on this one, I used this gorgeous handkerchief with embroidery on it. It was very thin and fine, and it has embroidered edges. So I backed it with some of that polka dot vellum to give it some stability. It could not have been a pocket on its own. Has an inventory tag tucked in there and a tag that I made with my Cricut. And then this one has a white bead. For this, I think this was part of the vintage advertising kit. So I cut these two like calling cards out and angled them and stitched them together and then stitched them down as a little tuck spot, and then it has this little envelope tucked inside. There's nothing in the envelope. Here's a pretty printable with a butterfly. It's backed with some patterned paper and then stitched to this patterned paper. And there's a card inside with a peacock. There's a vintage lady with a bird on that tag. There's a lace and a piece of a handkerchief up there. This is another one of the Ephemera's Garden pages that I folded together and glued. Another bird panel. I printed that piece in 2 sizes, so I have smaller pieces. There's a butterfly sticker that I glued on there with some vintage ledger paper. This is another page out of that bird book that I have. And this is a pocket that I made with my Cricut. It has 2 tags, 2 cards tucked in there, a white one and a green one. There's a little Tim Holtz butterfly. This is a little piece, a scrap of lace and a piece of multicolored rickrack that I thought went really well with these colors. The vintage envelope, and this is a folded piece that I used distress ink on, but it's got some lines and some really lovely designs on it. This is part of that vintage advertising kit. This page had a tear in it from getting wet with the coffee dye, so I decorated it with some washi tape on both sides. And there's the back. As I said, this will be listed in my Etsy shop along with this one, and I will leave a link below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.